Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
Well, it's playoff time as Panther City traveled out to California to take on the San Diego Seals. Welcome everyone to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast. I'm Nicholas, of course joined by Andy.
Hello.
Andy, the playoffs were here, and it was kind of a crazy weekend. They had all four games, one Friday night, or no, was it one Friday night and then two Saturday and one Sunday? But
I think it was
three Saturday.
Three Saturday, and then they finished up with Halifax and Albany on Sunday. But
either way, that's a lot of lacrosse. That's a lot of lacrosse in one day. I do wish they kind of spread it out. It would have been nice to have like a Friday primetime game, and then have two Saturday or two Saturday and two Sunday. But unfortunately, we got the California good start time of 9 p.m. Central, which was 7 out there. But a late start time, but going against a foe that we've ran into a couple times this year.
Yep, a lot of familiarity with San Diego. Obviously, we lost two close games to them. The second one, I guess it was close until the last 5 minutes or so. And then dating back to last year, we lost both our games that season as well. So definitely wanted this to kind of be the game for us to kind of right the ship against them and finally get the monkey off our back to beat them. We beat them our first year, but it's been a while since then. There have been a lot of faces that have changed, and obviously we're a better team. TK's got more coaching under his belt. So would this be the game?
Right. And we'll get to that because you talk about close games. This was about the same script as you could write for those other ones. But we talked about in our playoff episode with Proud City podcast, it really is hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. And that's kind of the thought process I think both you and me both had coming into this game was, we might have lost a game against them at home in overtime and a close game against them there in San Diego, but they were close games and they barely squeaked out. So coming in, honestly, I felt pretty good about going against San Diego this third time.
Yeah. You thought that we would have figured out more things. There were some interesting roster developments that did happen. Obviously, I don't remember whether he had played in any of the games against us, maybe the second one in season, but Brody Merrill, San Diego got him, not even off like the free agent heap per se, but like out of the retirement home. And then unfortunately for us, we kind of had the flip side happen for this game. In the season finale, at some point, John Donville took a pretty bad shot. I don't remember if it was I think it was his upper body, like maybe his abdomen or ribs or something. And so he ended up not playing in this playoff game. However, the heady defensive veteran that we signed late in the season, John Lintz, was activated from the IR. So he was in. Tony Malcolm, I think he would miss the season finale as well. He played. And Brendan Mitchell, actually, I think was the odd man out in terms of, with Lintz and Malcolm coming back, he ended up being a healthy scratch.
Yeah, and with Mitchell out too, I will say, Sheridan has been in and out of the lineup this year or towards the second half of the year, but he was activated for this game. So, and we had talked about that too. I felt like he was a player that Panther City needed going into San Diego, and he was actually he paid dividends on that end. We'll get to that here in a second, but of course, starting off this game, I think you mentioned it last week. The one thing we were kind of already in the hole against was face-offs, and I'm sure you'll get into the exact stats at the end, but didn't really go our way in the first quarter very much. Started out with San Diego pretty much controlling the ball right at the bat, and it didn't take long, but a couple minutes in, Dobby, a quick score by San Diego puts them up 1-0 before we knew it.
And, Dan Dobie's a pretty usual suspect in terms of San Diego's got a lot of offensive weapons. Dobie's certainly part of what you could call like a 3, maybe 4-headed snake on their head. So for him to score early, it wasn't really surprising. But at the same time, he is the kind of guy that you don't want him to get points early, because then he'll get in a rhythm and, the dam might break loose. So wasn't great to see, but yeah, it happened. What can you do?
Well, and I don't think again from our end it's not that surprising, but after they go up, I mean, it's a little bit back and forth. In fact, so back and forth that each of us gets a penalty. It goes 4-4 for a little while. I don't remember anything really coming from that, but a few shots here and there, and then finally, showtime. Callum Crawford. I mean, playoffs. For him, I'm sure it's only a matter of time before he can get things going in the playoffs, but he actually got kind of a weird goal in this one, and it took me a second to see what happened, but he shoots, and then it's like the goalie stops, and so you think he's on top of the ball, but it rolled in behind him, got a goal, tied us up at 1, but yeah, I wasn't too sure what happened on that I couldn't hear what was happening because my audio was off when I was watching the game, but I was just like, I'm not sure what happened, but it looked like a goal maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Showtime put enough heat on it to where when it did hit Origlieri, it was still able to get one of those lucky bounces back. Like it felt, it might have fallen to the ground first and then eventually crossed over into the plane. I don't remember the specific amount of time that a ball can be scored after it's deflected off the goalie or another player, but Showtime got a score out of it. So even if it was something that ricocheted off of Origlieri, hey, it worked out, and heads up play for him to stay aggressive. It was interesting that I don't think he scored it when we were on 4-on-4 even. No, it was back in pretty much the regular offense. So nice to see us clicking there.
Yeah, and maybe not one of the flashiest goals by him, but it counts nonetheless. Now, I'm going to bring up this next point we're going to talk about at the end as we talk about our thoughts on the game. But something happened that I felt was maybe not a turning point, but looking at the whole of the game was definitely something that was like, what happened? Damoud blocks a shot, great block by him, but then he holds the ball, and he looks like he's going to pass to the right, and then he stops, and he's going to pass to the left. And he almost looked like he didn't know what was happening. Like, who do I pass it to? Who do I go to? And they only have 7 or 8 seconds to pass it or get past, the half line. And so he just rushes it. He's like, oh, well, there's somebody, I'm going to rush it. And then they have to rush to get it across the board. So they try to pass it across. And sure enough, there's a San Diego player, steals it right in midair. I forget who it was, but goes in.
Holding. Yeah.
Yeah. Goes in 1-on-1. And it was almost like Damoud rattled himself. And then he got shot on, and a goal by San Diego put him up 2-1.
Yeah, I think that is definitely an area where the team could use some improvement. It's not that they're bad at transition play per se, or getting the ball out of their own side of the field. We've seen Daniel throw some really good outlet passes before, and the defenders be able to push it up either to transition guys or the offense as they're subbing on. But making those little detail mistakes here and there can really hurt you, especially in important games like this one.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was that's what I put down. I was just like, it was a mistake that shouldn't have happened, and it will. Again, I'll talk about it at the end. But looking back, I was like, man, that's something we needed. But thankfully, I talked about Sheridan, getting the start. Well, not even a minute after that, Sheridan, who, again, that physical play, that honestly, that physical presence that we needed out there for this game, well, this was it. He got the pass, and he was taken, I believe he was taken on just a one defender, but he pushed him to the right and then swung over with his right hand with a stick and everything, goes in, gets a goal, and I'm just like, all right, yeah, push your way in, man, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's something where his height and his reach really helps with that, being able to do that. And It almost seemed like a reverse swim. I'd have to kind of visualize what each so-called, when you're doing that, I guess, freestyle move is. But yeah, it is almost like shooting a jumper off like your wrong foot or that kind of thing. It was really impressive, and he's a young kid. He's flexible. He's athletic, and we saw all of that on display on that one goal to tie things up.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a player they needed out there. But going after the first quarter, I mean, we were tied, 2-2. I think you put in there, yeah. I mean, they pulled their goalie because they had a few seconds left. Damoud was getting some good shots and get some good blocks on there. But you even put on there about the challenge. I totally forgot about that. I didn't have the audio on, so I didn't get to see or hear exactly what happened, but it looked like San Diego might have made a goal, or can you elaborate on that? Sorry.
Yeah, Govett. I don't remember his first name. What was it? Jake Govett. He went in for what basically looked like a score. Coach TK had the wherewithal to challenge the play, and sure enough, upon replay, it was pretty hard to tell, but his foot did hit the crease before the ball definitively broke the plane. So that kept us at 2-2 and kept our timeout. So that was pretty heads up play by the coaching staff.
Well, and if I remember right, it had something to do with like the line was white and his shoes had enough white lining that they couldn't. It was hard to tell distinct, like definitive, that he was outside of it. I will say, I mean, that's something maybe to plan for next season. Is like I would never think to myself shoe color, but I don't know, because I feel like if you wear white shoes, you could be right outside the crease, but because of the angle of the camera or the shot, maybe they don't see it, and so it looks like your foot is on the crease. I don't know. Something food for thought for next year, but I don't know. If I was in players, I'd probably get anything but white shoes out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's almost like the whole Saskatchewan turf, like the bright color. Just think about every little leg up you can have on the opponent.
Right. Well, yeah. So after a quarter, I mean, we were tied 2-2. Honestly, that's what I kind of expected. I wanted at least a quarter or two of us sticking with them. But they start out the second. Actually, I think it didn't take very long. Yeah, 30 seconds in, the Seals take the lead 3-2.
Yeah, first possession of the quarter. Trey Claire kind of does what Sheridan did in the first save. He scored a leaping goal, like right in front of Damu to get things started for them. Got the assist from Stotts. We'll hear about his name a few more times, unfortunately. But yeah, it kind of shows how the depth of San Diego and what makes them a really tough opponent, especially offensively, having to not only stop the guys like Stotts and Dobie and Berg and whatnot, but also other guys that are able to contribute as well.
Yeah, and that's why that's honestly why San Diego is so dangerous, is that they have pretty much every tool you can think of out there, offensively, defensively, even transition players. I mean, everybody's kind of benefiting from the team and taking advantage of their position. But after that, a little bit of back and forth. I mean, Caputo gets a great goal on our end, which, by the way, I think that one he just literally just came off the bench for that one. Like it was during transition and he just hopped off. It was like, hey, I'm here. And it scored.
It's kind of funny. And it's different from like Donville or even Showtime. Whereas if they're coming in from the bench and they see that they've got a shot, they make the decision like pretty quickly, or they kind of, in Crawford's case, that's when they kind of work their one-on-one magic and kind of have a little sleight of hand with the stick and the ball. Caputo, it was almost like he had a hitch in his step. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm open. Oh, I'm this open. Okay, I'll go ahead and find it." And so it was nice to see him score off of that. And that gave Nick Damude another assist because he got it over to Patton, who got it to Caputo. So goalie to the defenseman to forward that's always fun to see.
Yeah, and so it was a good goal from us. Unfortunately, San Diego did answer back under a minute with Stotts. I mean, Yeah, with Stotts, I mean, you can only hold him back so long. I mean, that was his first goal of the game. Unfortunately, it would not be his last, but they took the lead 4-3, and I don't know. Watching Stotts play, I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know. He doesn't seem that good, but he just somehow manages off like just great shots, and he's not the fastest out there, obviously, but I don't know if that's just all in talent or all in skill or what.
I think he's got a lot of good stick skills to him. He I might have said this on a previous episode where we played San Diego. He has a perfect body type for the way he plays. Like he's kind of like, he's wide. He's not super tall, so he can even duck under guys when he has to. But he's also like strong and can basically back guys down. His first goal of this game was he was basically working behind the net, was able to shake. I don't remember who was on him, whether it was Sellers or Panther or someone, but to be able to shake them and then have the athleticism and hang time to dive and score on Damien was really impressive. He's quickly, I think it was either after that goal or the next one where I thought, man, I hate how good this guy is, because he is a very, very good player, but gosh dang it. I don't like to see it against Panther City.
Right. Can you go play for another team for a bit? It'll be fine. A goal by him. Thankfully, I think Panther City had their best run. 2 goals by them. Ryan Sheridan again. I mean, honestly, I'm glad he played this game. It was it was another one of those goals where, like, he one-handed dunked it, and nobody knew it went in because what happened?
Because when I don't remember if the angle that the ball hit first, like it took a while for it to break the plane, even though it did. But it was kind of awkward. His move to like get it in was good, but it's kind of funny how a couple of our goals are kind of scored. He had to like take a second look, like, did we? Oh, okay, I guess we did. It wasn't like it's Sports Center worthy,
right?
but it worked. And the fact that he did that against the veteran like Brody Merrill is really impressive too, considering this is his rookie year and he's already making these kind of plays in the playoffs.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't wait to see what he does for us next year. But you talk about Sports Center plays. Well, the next one that is in contention for my play of the game, but Crawford getting just kind of knocked around, honestly, and he somehow like passes as he's falling to Foley, and Foley scores. Great play by both of them. Put us up 5-4 with a little over 8 minutes left.
Yeah, that was so fun to watch. It's almost like he was a waiter that knew he was going to get tackled or something, and so he tossed up his dish or his entree to show to Foley, who was right there. So that might have been my favorite play of the game. Not just because of how weird and awesome it looked, but the fact that we got the lead off of it was great.
Yeah, and I thought it was great offer, great effort by both of them. But after that, you talked about our defense was actually playing pretty decent again. Honestly, I think our defense was trying to play a little bit more physical in that first half too.
They did.
Forcing some turnovers, getting some loose balls. You put in there Messenger forces a turnover. Unfortunately, nothing came away from it, but stuff like that is what we want to continue to see. We want to continue to see, is the defense doing everything they can to help out the offense, to help out, transition, to help out day mood. And that's something I kind of saw a lot of in that first half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to see, even though Evan Messenger didn't score off of that. You like the mentality, you like the aggression. And, I mean, hats off to Origlieri. I think I read a stat that he's one of the best one-on-one goalies in the league. He's pretty young too, like 21, 22. So
yeah, he's still got a few years to go.
Yeah, so he was making great saves and cutting off otherwise great opportunities for us. But I mean, you smack a goalie with enough of those shots, then eventually some are bound to go through.
Well, yeah, and that's why, that's why we talked about Medi so much this year. Like, sometimes you just got to take a chance, man. And he did towards the end of the year. But anyway, going back to this game, after that, Stotts, he is just that good of a player. Gets a score, tied us up at 5-5. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a way to double team him or something without double teaming him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just such a handful, and I can't think of a really, not really a defender on Panther City or any other team in the league that I watched this year that has the ability to. I mean, they can limit him, but they just haven't been able to shut him down.
I think honestly, thinking back on the games, I think Halifax was the only one to limit him to a few points. I'd have to look back at that, but still, they were. I don't think they did much different. But yeah, like you said, there's not really a whole lot of teams that can find a way to slow him down that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously it helps that he's playing with a guy like Dane Dobie, who's Mr. Playoff. In a lot of guys' eyes, Westberg is obviously a great playmaker as well. Curtis Dixon, and their offense is so loaded to the point where when you double someone, it's lots of times it's pick your poison. It's almost like when Panther City's playing at their best. It's like, okay, do you want to sag off Donville? Well, if you do that, then he's able to make his own shots. Okay, so double team Crawford. Oh well, he's got eyes in the back of his head. Okay, well, play off Malcolm. Well, Malcolm will just beat you to the net. So it's San Diego's that same way with where are you gonna have to essentially live with the goals or the shots that they're taking in. Guys like Stotts took advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at that point, I mean, we were tied 5-5. Again, very physical back and forth at that point. I thought their defense was playing pretty good. It seemed like we got a few good shots off, but a lot of, not turnovers, but they would get a lot of rebounds and stuff like that. So, but finally, Will Malcolm, he finally shows up for his goal. He put us up 6-5, and honestly, that was with 3 minutes left. And then after that, the defense was playing really good, and I thought, okay, up 6-5 going into the half. Damon's playing good, getting some good blocks. Defense is playing decent. I mean, anytime you're up at half, I feel like the momentum's going your way, or at least it was supposed to.
Yeah, well, it was Malcolm's score, which was it almost looked like a basketball fadeaway shot. I think his momentum was carrying him away from the net when he released it. You thought, okay, we've got that going into the half. Just play solid defense. We should be in good shape. It was interesting. I think the very last Panther City possession, rather than sub in all 5 offensive players, they actually kept a defender back, probably to prevent any late goals by San Diego in transition, which was a good idea in theory, but unfortunately, the last possession, Panther City didn't score on it, and San Diego had enough time to set up their 5-on-5 offense. So, yeah, that, at the end of the day, that having a guy sag and stay back on our side didn't really make a difference, just with the way that the clock worked out, because Dane Dobie managed the score with 2.5 seconds left, and it's like, that was the last thing that you wanted to see with that little amount of time left going into halftime.
Well, yeah, it kind of what's the best way to put it? I don't want to say it takes the wind out of your sails, but it does. I mean, you're like, we're up at half, we're playing good, we're blocking shots, and then just that one shot with a few seconds left goes in, and next thing you know, you're not ahead at halftime, you're tied, which isn't bad, but it just, I don't know, I think mentally it just kind of takes you down a notch, I guess. I mean, that was kind of my feeling. So I saw that happen, and I'm just like, what the heck? Like, can we not just go into half with a lead? Do we have to go in tied?
Yeah, I know. It kind of helped me keep things in perspective, thinking like, okay, I've seen Donville and Caputo and whichever plan on our team do this before. I just got to put it into perspective that there's a lot of really good players in the NLL, and Dane Dobie's one of them, and he scored a great shot. He's not one of the all-time leader in playoff points for nothing.
Yeah, well, yeah. But going into halftime tied, I mean, better position than I think we expected. I honestly thought we would go in with the lead. That would be great. But going into the third quarter was weird. Like, I mean, I hate to put it that way, but I'll just get to it. There was only 2 goals in the entire third quarter, but that didn't keep the teams from kind of going back and forth. I mean, you have in your notes talking about Hossack. He tries to get an early shot on goal during transition, but Origlieri, which, by the way, I forget who was it, but somebody had a picture of Origlieri, and he was blocking out the sun. That's how good he was. He was blocking out even the sun. But unfortunately, Stotts gets a goal a few minutes in, puts San Diego up 7-6. But then there's like a penalty, but then we can't convert, and then just a lot of back and forth in this quarter, and I mean that's good. That's good that we weren't able to, because we've seen so many times this year where we let teams either completely take the lead in the third quarter or come back or do something, and so it was kind of nice to see them see San Diego not completely take over this game in the third quarter.
Yeah, and that's a credit to Damien and the defense for really still maintaining that aggression, but not to the point where we're getting penalties called on us and whatnot. I think the one penalty that was called on the quarter was on Patrick Shumay. Unfortunately, we couldn't convert on that, which is another interesting tidbit that we'll go into later. Like, first half, not a single power play. Third quarter, it's the same thing. Barely a goal in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, the people think, oh, the teams aren't doing well because they're not scoring a lot of goals. It's like, no, both defenses are just playing that hard, and both goalies are playing out of their mind, and you just got to tip your cap off to both sides.
Yeah, and I will say this, and that especially in that third quarter, Damien was really good, just blocking up shot attempts. I mean, he's really good at using his shoulders, putting them up, making those higher up shots a lot harder for the San Diego. So seeing him play like that was really good, even though he did allow Stotts to get a goal. I mean, that's going to happen. But, they're up 7-6. Finally, I think it was, Gauthier to Malcolm, or Malcolm to Gauthier, finally tied it back up with a little over, 9 minutes left? Yeah, or 6 minutes left, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was I don't know if it was I guess it was a shot attempt from Malcolm, but yeah, Gauthier was able to get the Lucy and sneak one past Origlieri. So we've seen Gauthier do that plenty of times in the past. He had a bit of a dry spell kind of near the stretch run of the season where he hadn't scored in a couple of months until it might have been Calgary. But it was nice to see him get on the board and kind of break the dry spell, because up to that point we had gone quite a while without a goal, and then that was kind of more of a sign of things to come, I guess.
Well, and we've seen Panther City do that before, where they go on these like drought streaks where it's like everything was clicking for us in the first 2 quarters, but then third quarter happened, and we're like, we're just not going to score for a while. I mean, both in game and real time. I think real time, it was, you have halftime and then coming back from like commercial breaks. Gosh, that had to be like, half an hour almost?
Yeah, I know. I do got to wonder how much not having Donville affected their offense. I didn't see as much movement from like right up top. We saw it kind of more on the wings with Malcolm and Crawford most of the time. So going into the third quarter, whether not having him out there kind of limited your playbook, because you have one of the main playmakers sitting out. And guys, other guys are pretty young and don't have quite as much experience. So they can play as well as they can, but can't really completely fill the void left by his absence.
Well, I mean, he wasn't Rookie of the Year last year for nothing. I mean,
right.
And there was a reason. I will say this. I feel like the Panther City offense tried to shift things and adjust things the best way they could. It worked sometimes, and I don't think it worked all the time. But I think it worked enough that they kind of got what they needed to get done in this game, which was just stay in the game the whole time. And so, tied 7-7. Honestly, after that, it's just San Diego making a bunch of great saves because Medi tries a shot on goal during the transition. I think Caputo, I think somebody else tried another shot during that run, but it seemed like we were trying to get shots off and trying to be like, hey, let's take the lead here. But I hate to admit, Riglieri had some really good blocks. I mean, honestly, Damu did too, but Riglieri, he was kind of shutting us down in that third quarter.
Man, it was that one on Medi, because it was a classic Medi transition opportunity. He did, it almost looked like he was like doing the limbo or something, like the way his body bent backwards. And I guess he did it quick enough to be able to save the ball or somehow get it under his butt and get a favorable camera angle or something. But yeah, you can tell why he's one of the bright young goalies in this sport, along with Damien and along with like George's Brett Dobson and whatnot. And so yeah, and then Caputo actually did manage to break the plane later on after he rebounded, I think, one of Knox's shots on goal. But unfortunately, Knox, from what I remember, he got knocked over or tripped on his shot. And so when Caputo put it in net, Knox was still lying down, probably trying to get up, which is unfortunate. But you like the energy level.
Right. And that's, again, no goals, just 2 goals in the third quarter. But at least it felt like we were trying to. It wasn't one of those games where we were like, oh, we're tied. Oh, there's still a quarter left. Let's just kind of hold on to the lead or hold on to the tie and play it safe. We were actually trying to take the lead. But going into the fourth, again, tied again. And I hate to say, that was kind of the story of the game, honestly. Into the first, we were tied. Into the second, we're tied. Yeah. Into the third, we're tied. And it's like, can we pull this off? Can we get a goal? Can we get 2 goals? Can we do something and finish this game off? But, early on in the fourth quarter, very physical. I mean, again, Callum Crawford's 38, 39?
Yeah.
I mean, he was taking some shots during this game. Mm-hmm. And so, well, between him and like, I think you put in there like Patton, both of them getting hit early on in this quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just like, thankfully, a guy like, both of them really, they kind of dust themselves off and get right back up. I can't imagine having the stamina and endurance and physical fitness to like get decked like that and just kind of like I can't like sit here and say ouch, that hurts, because I got to run back to the bench so the other players can come on, or either that or you gotta refocus because the possession's not over yet. And so yeah, it's just really representative of how physical the game was getting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the physicalness finally paid off. Finally, 12 minutes left, a little over 12 minutes. The other Malcolm brother, Tony Malcolm, he had to make his appearance for the playoff game. He got hit, grabbed the Lucy anyway, takes it in on transition. I mean, great goal by him, great effort by him. Put us up 8-7. And honestly, again, this was another part of the game. I'm just like, all right, I'm feeling good about this. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, excellent play by him, and one of those really inspiring goals. Like, not all goals are made equal, yet not all goals are made equal. I mean, that was like an Earl Campbell run or something. Just seeing him, he got hit at least 2 times going towards the net, and so to him to be able to do that on a night when Goodwin had been having a good run up to this game, we didn't really see him get loose in transition, and then Medi, he got blocked as well. So to see one of the the transition guys be able to take it in was nice to see, especially to give us the lead back.
Right. And again, it just like you said, it was something that kind of helped the team pick the energy back up after, being tired going into the fourth and stuff like that. But unfortunately, again, it's Stotts, man. I'll say this: I hope Stotts plays for somebody else next year, because I don't want to see him again. Like, I want to see him once next year. That's it. But he answers back a few minutes later, tied at 8-8, and man, honestly, that was like the beginning of the. I don't want to say the beginning of the end, but it was the beginning of, like, hey, who can outlast who in this game? Because it got really. What's the right word I'm looking for? Not iffy, but it got really. I don't know. There was just a lot of, like, back and forth and almost fighting, honestly, after that. But Stotts, tied us back up 8-8. He for that team, he is their main guy.
Yeah, and not to use another American football comparison or analogy, but it was very much like that game between the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. However, 2 or 3 years ago, where every team kept scoring, and you're like, I guess that's a little different because there were definitely droughts in this game. But in terms of the closeness and kind of level that each team rose up to, you're like, man, the team that's going to win this is going to be who has possession last, basically. And yeah, Stotts, Randy Stotts did have a cup of coffee with Panther City back in the inaugural season, and so who knows? Maybe he kind of holds a little grudge against
Panther
Fort Worth
City
for that. So
it's like, I'm just going to take it out on you guys every time I see you.
Yeah, but
well, I mean,
yeah,
he's just he really is that good of a player, even though he doesn't looks like he plays that way. He just somehow gets those shots. But after that, back and forth penalties. It's 4-4. Nothing happens. I think, you wrote in there about Riglieri gets a great block off of a fast break, and then Damoud, pretty much the exact same thing. We get a couple of turnovers, great deflections, and it comes down to the last few minutes. And San Diego is definitely they're setting up different plays. They try to get a shot. Great block by Damoud, and then we get the ball back. I believe it was only with 20 some odd seconds left. It was within the shot clock, and TK called a timeout, hopefully to draw up something for the last bit.
Yeah, normally when we have that opportunity, something, even if we don't necessarily score out of it, a decent play is drawn up, and at that point, you just got to hope that the guys are able to execute it. They don't use too much time off the clock, and that the defense isn't able to completely predict us and figure things out. So, that's.
Well, I mean, you try to drop the best, and this is, again, I think, another opportunity where if Donville was out there, I feel like it would have been different.
Yeah, I do agree with that, because Donville is such a great after timeout player for us.
But unfortunately, we're trying to pass it back and forth. I think you put in there, pretty much just a bad pass and then turnover. And then by that time, end of regulation, going into overtime, tied 8-8.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen in this season so far. I think this was like the sixth overtime game this year.
It feels like too many.
Yeah, definitely. And just, the fact that it's a winner-go-home situation makes it that much more kind of nail-biting.
I feel like I was, by that point, when I was down in Houston, everything was to a point where I could, like, pay really close attention to the game for a few minutes. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, great. Overtimes make me nervous anyway. This made me even more nervous. But going into overtime, we lose the face-off, but not really a whole lot happens. I'm trying to remember, did we even get a possession at all?
Yeah, we did. So
that's right.
What happened? Baptiste won the faceoff, which surprise, surprise. But our defense was so aggressive and close to them that San Diego actually wasn't even able to get it across half field. So we essentially got the first functional possession of overtime, and at that point I was like, oh shoot, all we need is one. Anything can happen.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing, but unfortunately their defense buckles down. San Diego gets the ball back. Now this is another part I'm going to talk about at the end, but there's a shot on Daymud, another great block, and I felt like we had an opportunity to get the ball back, and instead we turn it back over to them. And San Diego takes advantage. I mean, you have the more detail here. I mean, it bounced off of Daymud's right leg.
Yeah,
it goes to the right person at the right time in the right position, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, there were at least two plays that were like that, either ricocheting off Daymud and not getting the board, or the one that really sticks in my mind was I don't remember whether Daymud got it in his net and he passed it to Patton, or Patton got a Lucy. But Patton threw, I'm sure he didn't mean to, but Patton threw a pass which looked like it was right to Trey Leclerc in front. Like maybe Trey Leclerc lulled him to sleep or made him think he was about to turn and run back. But in any case, Leclerc was able to cause a turnover and intercept it, just like the interception we saw earlier in the game by Cam Holding, which led to that transition bucket by him. So Leclerc intercepts it. I don't remember if I don't think San Diego scored right off of that.
Right, I think that's where they took a shot and then it bounces off and then it goes.
Yeah,
I forget who was with the game. Oh, it was Dobby.
Yeah. So Dobby missed point blank, but then the ball eventually through. There wasn't even really a scrum for it, I think. San Diego ends up back with it again, and Dobby. Oh my gosh! Aside from Josh Burns' overtime winner earlier in the weekend against Georgia, something about Dobby made it look like just a casual shot, like where he was standing kind of right wing or at the right angle, and he was able to shoot it well enough to where it bounced off of Daymud's right leg and rolled back into the goal, and you just saw the dejection on every Panther City player's face.
Well, and Daymud was like way out of position too. It looked like he was trying to move back to his right to block it, and he couldn't get back in position in time.
Yeah, he might have not been expecting the shot from that angle, but hey, Dane Dobie, I mean, going into the game, he was ranked number 2 all time in goals. He still is number 2 all time. If San Diego keeps playing well, he's probably going to break John Tavares' record very soon. But I mean,
yeah,
that was just heartbreaking to watch.
Well, yeah. I mean, it makes it worse that it was overtime and it was win or go home, and it honestly makes it worse that it was a turnover. And it feels like, that was our Achilles in this game. There's been a story for why Panther City has lost against San Diego each game this year.
It did.
And this time it was the turnovers. It was not a lot, but it was the ones, the few that we did that kind of led to that win. But yeah, goal, put them up 98. That's a winner in overtime. San Diego moves on. Panther City goes home. Again, we'll do a deep dive into our final thoughts here in a minute, but for the last time for the 2023-2024 season, we bring to you, of course, Mr. Andrew's stats of the game. Mr. Andrew, what stats do you have for this final game against San Diego?
You got a somber Mr. Andrew tonight.
Right.
So, well, we've already kind of alluded to it. The Seals dominated face-offs as expected. Trevor Baptiste went 19 out of 21. He just destroyed everyone who he went up against. Tyler Burton was the unlucky bloke that took most of those. He went 2 of 16. And, Tyler Burton, he's been playing a long time. He's one of the all-time leaders in face-off wins for the playoffs as well, which, he's no slouch, but Baptiste is one of those face-off specialists who at this point is on just another level, and he showed it in this game. The one silver lining is that, they got more possessions, but at least Baptiste himself didn't score like he did last game against us. Panthers City, they also didn't do that great in some other areas. San Diego won the Lucy battle. They had 20 more than us, 79-59. They had a few more caused turnovers, 9-6, and they had less turnovers overall, 21-25. So, we played hard, but those little things like not winning the loose ball battles, not winning the face-offs, not being able to get the ball back and get those blocks or those turnovers, that little things like that do kind of add up over time and make it harder to win a lacrosse game. Speaking of winning a lacrosse game, Damien basically did everything but win. He was amazing in that. He saved 54 out of 63 shots for an absolutely stellar 85.7% save percentage. I think that's another one of his, it was his 4th game with at least 54 saves. So, and on top of that, he had the assist on Phil Caputo's goal, the hockey assist. So just an amazing game from him. For comparison, Origlieri also had a lot of great saves, and he honestly had the eye-catching saves from what you and I saw. However, he did have to face a lot less shots on goal. He saved 37 out of 45 for 82%. So based on that, I'd say you could probably say that he got a bit more help from his defense and maybe a bit more help from some of the sloppy, untimely turnovers that Panther City had on their side. I brought this up after the first half, but there wasn't a single power play goal in this game, none for either team. Now, there weren't that many penalties either. I think we had 3 power play opportunities. San Diego went man up twice, not counting when they were going 6-on-5. So, both goalies were just that good, because I think both teams were able to get shots off in power play scenarios. They just weren't able to find the back of the net. So hats off to both Damien and Origlieri. Offensively, again, we didn't have Donville, so kind of had to spread the wealth around, because without one of your main guys, that's going to make it harder for a guy like Will Malcolm or Crawford to go off, because they're going to have that much more attention focused on them. Crawford did lead the team with 4 points. He had 1 goal and 3 assists. Both of the Malcolms and Gauthier both had 3 points each. I think each of them had a goal and 2 assists. Sheridan was the leading goal scorer with 2, and so very impressive out of the young rookie in his first ever playoff action. I don't think Knox scored, but he was able to get an assist out of it. So good experience for the young guys. On the other side, Austin Stopps, we brought his name up a lot. He was a problem all game. He finished with 5 points. He had 4 goals and 1 assist. Dobie added 4 points of his own with 3 goals and 1 assist. The 2 of them really carried the San Diego offense in a game where there wasn't much offense bound on both sides, just because of how well the goalies were playing. Baptiste, on top of, as well as he was doing in face-offs, he had 14 loose balls on top of that. And Kyle Rubish also hit double figures with 10. I think on our end, we didn't have any. Okay, Haas was the only guy that hit double figures in Lucy. So, you'd like to see the captain get a little bit more help on that end, especially in a game like this where you got to deal with Baptiste winning the face-offs. You got to deal with all the other guys on their side that are able to kind of get down and dirty and scoop up some loosies. So, yeah, based on the statistical battle, you'd almost think it was not a blowout, but more of a bigger margin of a victory for San Diego. So credit to Panther City that it was as close as it was, pretty much just separated by a sudden death goal. But I think those little stats do kind of show a lot, and when things come down to the wire like this.
Well, and the one high point that you pointed out, I mean, Daymood, 85% in the playoff game.
Yeah.
That usually should lead to a win, honestly. We saw that. Unfortunately, we saw that with Albany in their playoff game this last weekend. Great goalie play from their end, and they ended up winning. But, the stats don't tell the whole story, but he was playing great. He talked about the penalties. One thing that plagued Panther City throughout the year was penalties at the worst times, or penalties that led to teams getting back in it. And this had 2 penalties against us for the whole game. One of them was a delay of game, which was kind of on accident. I think he threw it. I
thought that was kind of BS. But
but he threw it, and that's just how it goes. But one actual penalty with Foley getting a holding stick in the fourth quarter. That's really good play from our end. It just sucks that we couldn't take advantage of the 3 power plays we had against San Diego.
Yeah, and kind of elaborating on that, I don't love seeing regular rotation guys have to sit, but I think it was a very good decision that Coach TK and the staff chose to play John Lentz over Brent Mitchell in this situation. Not that Mitchell's not a good defender, but as we've spoken about all season, there are times where he might kind of lose his cool or have a bit too many extracurricular activities. And San Diego, the first game when we were up on them by, what was it? It was at least 3 goals. It might have been 5. The major, the double major that he got for fighting or instigating, and everything else that goes with it, that pretty much was what opened the door to let San Diego catch up. And then in the next game, I'm pretty sure he had a fourth quarter penalty that really hurt the team as well and kind of led to San Diego running away with that one. So, in that sense, I think it was a good idea to play John Lentz instead. Even if, Lentz didn't play huge minutes, he might have been nursing the injury he had for us earlier on. But having a veteran like that who had won a recent championship, I think that was the right call.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that's one of those scenarios where probably Lentz, kind of rises back off into the sunset after this season. Hey, I was glad to help out towards the end of the season, but, whatever. But, well, of course, that's, the last time for the 2023-2024 season. Mr. Andrews' stats of the game. Leads us into our cool cat plays of the game. Honestly, there's a lot. I think there was a couple different ones, a couple different plays that I thought were really good. Obviously, I would say that transition goal with Tony Malcolm, that one was a really good one. For me, it's up to 2 of them, but Sheridan was really good. I thought that was a good play of the game just because, again, he's a rookie and he pushed his way through, made something happen out of nothing. But I gotta go Crawford. Crawford to Foley, man. That was that play looked like it was falling apart the entire time. And somehow Crawford was like, oh, hey, there's Foley. I'm going to toss it to him. And Foley was like, all right, well, I'm going to score. And so, for me, that was my play of the game. Which ones do you got for yourself?
Honorable mention is the one that you first mentioned with Ryan Sheridan. And that swim move going 1-on-1. This guy, he rises to the occasion on the biggest stage. Really love to see that out of a young player. I couldn't pick between these two. I could not pick between the Showtime coming away with that Lucy and then tossing that pass. It was almost like, it wasn't exactly a no look, but it was just so unique.
Close enough.
It was like perfect Showtime, and the fact that he was getting taken down as Foley, a defensive player. Yeah, that made it all the way back to help him out. and get the goal for us was excellent. And yeah, I love that Tony Malcolm coast to coast, because you just saw how he basically created that entire play. He's the one that scooped up the Lucy. He's the one that was able to catch San Diego discombobulated and run it down. I don't think he had a single teammate in front of him. It was just him against the world on that right. play. And he was able to get one past the Riglieri to for a really good one. So between that and the Showtime pass to Foley, those would be my plays of the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a few of them that stood out to me. I wish we would have had one more in overtime, but hey, well, that's for another year. But that's of course our cool cat plays of the game. Leads us into our final big cat players of the game. I know you're gonna give props to probably multiple people. For me, there's two of them that stood out. Obviously, Damood. And he would be my big time player of the game, if not for a poor play or a poor lapse of judgment, I guess you could say, and pretty much causing a rush to a turnover to a goal. I mean, that was honestly his only bad spot, I guess, of this game. But you were right. I mean, he, as far as blocking shots and doing everything he could to keep this team in it, he did everything he could for him. He left it all out there, and he posted today. I mean, we're just to let everybody know we had a late start recording it this week, and so this is the 2nd of May, and he had posted something, just kind of appreciate, posting stuff from the year, and probably the most somber comment I could think of, I just put appreciation. So that's all I can say is appreciation to Damood. I mean, off and on year, really good highlights, some lowlights, unfortunately, but really good game from him against San Diego, one of the toughest teams out there. But my big cat player of the game is, it's his rookie season, man, and he's a player that I think, if I was to pick rookie of the year for Panther City, man, Knox was good, and Knox had some good games, but man, it just seemed like every time Sheridan had an opportunity this year, he took advantage of it. And sometimes I was trying to make stupid, crazy shots through his legs and, twisting around and just throwing it everywhere he could. But between that energy and the things he's learned this year, and being that presence we needed him to be out there for San Diego, Ryan Sheridan, he is my big cat player of the game. What about for you?
I think in a game where neither team reached double digits, my focus is kind of predictably going to be on the defensive players and what they were able to bring to the table. Not that, obviously Sheridan had a great game, just in a game where points are pretty hard to come by. Same with Showtime and Will Malcolm and whatnot. But I mean, like you said, Damood, much like the first game versus the Seals, where he also finished with an over 80% save percentage, he got everything but the win. I mean, had we gotten a few more timely stops or had more of our shots gone in, he probably would have easily had been the player of the game, certainly one of them. So I mean, gotta give him his props. Looking at the box score, I did notice that Connor Sellers and Matt Hossick, neither of those defensemen finished with a single negative stat. Sellers had 4 loosies, a block, and a caused turnover. Meanwhile, Haas had 10 loosies, a block, and 2 caused turnovers. You can't really ask for... Certainly, there's things that don't show up in the box score, but you can't really ask for a much better performance from 2 leaders of the team. Obviously, Haas is the captain, and Sellers is one of the assistant captains. So, really good performances by them that I'd like to call out. And the one guy who it's a little unfair because as a transition player, he'll naturally be double dipping every now and then. Tony Malcolm, just 3 points total. He had 1 goal, 2 assists. On top of that, contributed on the defensive and in between game with 6 loosies, 2 cost turnovers. He had what's probably my play of the game with his Earl Campbell rumble down to the net to beat Origlieri. So I gotta give a shout out to all those guys: Damude, Sellers, Hossack, Tony Malcolm, even Patrick Foley, thinking that they were going to go back on defense on the other side and seeing that Cal Crawford and another one of the players was still on the scrum down low. So, and running back down there in time to be able to catch that pass and score, just heads up plays from all of them. So, yep, they did really well in a losing effort.
Yeah, and of course that's our big cap players of the game. I mean, they're it's you hate to say like silver lining, but there were some players that were the silver lining for this game. Final thoughts on this game. I'll let you kick us off on this one. What are your final thoughts on this last playoff game? Winner go home, and unfortunately, Panther City going home.
It just stinks that, I'd rather we lose close games than get blown out, because in close games, you had a chance. But at the same time, that it twists the knife that much more when you're like, no, we had this one and whatnot. And there's no moral victories or brownie points or that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, they just got to take the loss on the chin and improve for next year. Man, I really would have loved to have seen us eventually get a home playoff game.
Yeah.
And then what with the next day with Albany winning, who I think, except for Panther City losing, my bracket is still intact. I think I'm the only one of y'all, because I was the only one that chose Albany to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought Albany would have been a very good matchup for us. And if we win, you think, oh, Donville's got an extra week to rest up as well. So I think it would have been nice to see that matchup against 2 kind of up and coming teams in the league. Yeah, it's just it's tough, and we don't have to go into it right now, but kind of the uncertainty of what exactly the future is of where this team is going to be and whatnot. Always kind of you hope this isn't exactly a swan song, and that they're going to certainly at least be around in the current area that they're in. So overall, they played their hearts out. They were missing one of their top guys. Jamie played excellent. Other guys stepped up. You can't really ask for anything else. It's just they weren't able to quite get over the hump against one of who I would call one of their biggest rivals at this point.
Yeah. We talked about that earlier in the season, how who's Panther City's rival. We thought, I thought Colorado, maybe Las Vegas. Yeah, definitely San Diego is probably the top of that list right now. It's somebody I would love to see us beat. At least have a good back and forth with them. For me, this game, for lack of a better words, left a sour taste in my mouth. And I'm not saying that like in a bad way. It just, it like you said, I felt like we had that game. And looking at the whole big picture things, the 2 things I pointed out, a bad turnover mistake in the first quarter, that if we would have even, let's say that turnover didn't happen, and even if they scored and tied it back up, I can look back on that and be like, hey, okay, that's fine. They scored, but it's because of our inexperience, maybe. I don't know. Forcing it, getting in the turnover, San Diego getting the turnover, and then scoring off of it. That really felt, like, dang, man, we should have had that one back. And then, of course, the turnover in overtime. that there's, I'm not saying it's anybody's one fault or anything like that, but you got to know in overtime, like, possessions are gold. And anytime you block and have a chance to get another possession in, you got to take advantage of it. And we weren't able to, and San Diego was. And so that's why it just almost left a little bit of a sour taste. I was like, dang, man, like, you take that turnover in overtime, you take that turnover in the first quarter. If you take that one in the first quarter, we win.
Yeah.
Like, we win in regulation, and we don't go to overtime. We win by a point. But yeah, I think, like you said, I think there's, between that and just a lot of uncertainty going into the offseason, just makes things, like, not worse, but just makes things feel not as cheerful as you would hope. It's not like last season where, hey, we were so close to beating Calgary, and at least we make the playoffs, and we had Rookie of the Year, and Tracy Koleski was up for Coach of the Year again, and gosh, we got all these good things going for us, man. I can't wait till next year. This year, it was just, again, I think it goes back to what I mentioned before. We had high expectations for this team coming into this year. And not saying super high, but we expected a step up from last year, and unfortunately, we just ended up in the same position as last year. And I'm not saying, like, that makes us any worse or any better, but man, like, I think I had mentioned it, 3 or 4 weeks ago. This team just doesn't have an identity, and I hope that whatever happens in the future, I hope they find that identity, because that's what's going to lead that team to go past this first round of the playoffs. That's what's going to lead them to getting an at-home playoff game and having a chance for a title. And I hope they find that. Unfortunately, wherever that may be. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I mean, you hate to sound somber and disappointed, but man, like, it was just disappointing. I thought we had it.
Now I'm thinking about it in terms of, you think about in the most the most baby steps sense of that term. We lost our playoff game by less than we did last year. We had a chance to win it right at the end. Calgary, we did, but not to the extent that we did in an overtime game. It does like that. Both of our playoff games so far, one of them we played without our head coach. This one we played without our reigning Rookie of the Year and lead playmaker in Donville. So it just feels like we're just getting struck with bad luck at the most inopportune time.
Right.
Well, I do have a question. Now that Panther City's knocked out, who are you pulling for the rest of the playoffs?
Look, first of all, I'm gonna say I want Albany to beat the out of San Diego. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I think Albany will take it to 3 games. I think they'll find a way to get at least one win in there. And then I'm gonna stick with it, man. Toronto, they're the team to beat. They are the team to figure out what to do and how to do it against, because Nick Rose, I mean, that game was close. Toronto game was a lot closer than people wanted it to be. But it was, again, it came down to his play shutting down towards the end and getting them that win. And I mean, until Buffalo can say, which also Buffalo had a close game as well.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people expected that, but I don't know. I think Buffalo kind of has their work cut out for them this year. I still expect Toronto to make it to the finals and win the whole thing. I don't know who you got on your side.
Well, now that I'm knocked out, I have one team. Other teams I chose to make it to go all the way to the finals.
Yeah.
Got knocked out. I'm kind of pulling for mayhem or like bedlam. I predicted Toronto to win the title, but I might be cheering for them in the next round. I love watching that tandem of Josh Byrne and Dane Smith, and then Nanticoke getting some action in there as well. Yeah, I might be leaning a little more towards Buffalo, which is funny because I predicted them to beat Georgia, and by the end of that game, I was rooting for Georgia.
Right?
I don't know whether it's because they've got the Thompsons or what, but yeah, I guess cheering for a more southern state.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want mayhem, you'll have Albany making it to the finals, and then it'd be them and Buffalo.
Yeah, but I can't in good conscience. So considering that I had picked us to beat Albany, I don't think I can in good conscience predict Albany will upset San Diego.
Well, I want Albany to upset San Diego. I just don't want San Diego to make it.
I mean, they do have Grennan. That's a good point. I do got to root for Grennan. I wouldn't be opposed to San Diego making it because then I'm thinking like, well, we lost to the eventual champions or whatever if they do end up going all the way.
Right.
But yeah, regardless, I think it's gonna be fun series. I don't remember who won the regular season matchup between Albany and San Diego.
I'd have to look back. I think it was Albany,
it must have been.
Well, yeah,
might have been during their early season swoon.
Might have been, but yeah, all I know is I'm not gonna say the 4 best teams are in there, but I'll say at least 3 of them are. I mean, Buffalo and Toronto, I think, deserve to be there. And as much as I hate to admit it, I think San Diego does too. Albany, even though their record was really good at the beginning of the year, they still feel like the odd man out.
Yeah, they're definitely like, who invited them to the party?
Right.
Yeah, San Diego beat them 14-7.
Okay.
I think that was their first loss actually. So, see, I mean, my sister lives in California, so
just be like, hey, if you're around San Diego by any chance, no, I'm just kidding. No, that and I hate that it's 1st to 3 after the first round. Dear NLL, shorten the season by a week and give us a round of 1st to 3.
Well, not only that, but with it being best of 3, they'll have 2 weekend games, and then if there is a game 3, it's not played till the next week, and it's just, I mean, I guess that works in terms of building up anticipation.
Yeah,
and they're wanting to get big crowds, so trying to avoid weeknights, but yeah, it's just to have that lull between games has got to be just gut wrenching for lacrosse fans.
Well, and I feel like they could find a sweet spot where they can space it out to have like a game on Friday and then a game on Sunday, or even a game on Thursday and a game on Sunday, and have enough space, and then you could have that next game that next Saturday night or whatever. But man, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a way to work this to where everybody who makes it in the playoffs at least has. I mean, they're trying to play best of both worlds here. Like they want a best of 3, 2 out of 3 series, but they also want like the craziness of, football playoffs, and they want the craziness of like the play-in games that they have for basketball and the play-in games they have for baseball. They're like, yeah, we want that, but we also want, these series to go on.
Right.
So hopefully they can find a good balance on that. Obviously they changed things around standings wise this year, so maybe they'll figure out something in the coming years. But usually this is the part where we look ahead to next week's game. Unfortunately, there is no game to look ahead to next week. So without, obviously going too deep into it, we do have another episode coming up probably here in a week or two where we are going to go over the year of Panther City, the 2023-2024 season, talk about all the highs, talk about all the lows, talk about, the good things, the bad things, everything else in between, and kind of give our final thoughts on the season. Obviously looking ahead to whatever the off season may hold, but yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we hit last year where, the season ends and it's just kind of like, all right, well, we get to watch some more playoff NLL, see who wins the title there. And then it's the waiting game in the off season. So it's just kind of that weird time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that weird limbo of, well, the season's over for us, but not for everyone. And so, yeah, you're going to watch other games and be maybe here and there think, oh, well, we would have scored off of that, or
Yeah.
Daniel would have saved that one, or, so yeah, there will be a lot of that as we quote unquote process as sports fans.
Well, a couple of things I do want to point out before we finish up on here. Obviously, the upcoming playoff games are really good to keep an eye out for. There is, coming up at the end of the summer, the Box Lacrosse World Championships. So they took the format of the World Championships that they had out in California last year, and they're moving it indoors, box lacrosse style, into New York. And so all those it seems like all the teams that were there last year are going to be playing again.
Nice.
So I would say that's something to look out for. And then just for the local area, there is I wish I had their exact name. There is a lacrosse, like a barn, I want to say.
Yeah. I've been keeping up with that coach. I think his name is Coach Temple.
Yeah,
on social
it's literally
media.
called the lacrosse barn. They're having their grand opening soon. They just put turf in their field. And so for the local people, I would say that would be something to check out, especially if you're wanting to get in lacrosse or if you're wanting to find out more about lacrosse. I think they're going to have all kinds of classes you can take, all types of seminars. They'll probably have players come in and talk. Heck, I mean, Callum's in the off season and he's up in Oklahoma. Just give him a call to come down. But I would say for the local crowd in the DFW area, that would be something else to look out for. Other than that, I mean, is there anything else in the off season that you kind of keep an eye out for?
Let's see. The lacrosse barn's probably been the main thing because it's just cool that someone's trying to create a state-of-the-art lacrosse training facility for field and box for all and sixes, all facets and versions of the game here in this area. And I think it's going to do wonders in terms of helping grow the game in Texas. Just like having the team Panther City down here is doing. So yeah, hats off to Coach Stindl. Really love to see how things are going to go once that opens up. Going to try to make that grand opening. I want to say it's sometime in June.
Yeah, I think it's June. I'll have to look at it because I think I took like a screenshot, but it's not that far. It's in, where is this, in Dallas?
Yeah, it's in like North Dallas or Addison, I think.
Yeah, it's south of Addison. So yeah, not that far, but I mean that's again. I feel, and again we'll talk about this at our end of year stuff. But man, the Dallas side of the DFW, I think they're really latching on to lacrosse a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I know. Yeah, the high schools around me, it's a pretty big deal. So yeah, love that he's doing that. I know it's been kind of a real passion project of the guy running it. Let's see. Beyond that, during the autograph signing, I mean, Donville hinted at that he was going to be playing in the PLL again.
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so keep your eye to see if you'll see some familiar faces over there. Yeah, you mentioned the World Championships as well. Just that there is with the different iterations of the sport, there really is no off season for lacrosse per se, even though there might be one for the NLL and other various leagues as in a vacuum. So yeah, just keep your eyes out, and obviously people will always be talking about the game one way or the other.
Oh yeah, and I mean, same thing with the college game too. It seems like it's nonstop, but
oh yeah, I think Duke that just got upset.
I think so. I mean, there's honestly on ESPN, I've been seeing a lot more games on there too, like college games. So, like you said, the sport of lacrosse does not stop for anybody. That was one of our titles for one of our off-season episodes last year. Just even though the NLL ended, it's like lacrosse just keeps going. But obviously, the NLL playoffs, we got PLL, we've got box lacrosse championships, local lacrosse barn, everything going on. Be sure to check out pretty much anything lacrosse going on towards the end of this season and into the off season. But as always, we thank everybody for taking time and just spending this year with us, so letting us talk about lacrosse, letting us talk about Panther City, taking time to listen to us. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, YouTube. I mean, just check us out wherever you can, and be sure to follow us as you can. But once again, for the last time for the 2023-2024 season, I'm Nicholas.
And I am once again Andy.
And we'll see y'all next time.
Sweet. Cheers, y'all.
Yo.